Hey friends, welcome to a new video. Today I thought I would talk a little bit about my current yearly journal, Project Life, call it whatever you want, that I am working on right now, and kind of tell you how we got there and how I ended up on this, and kind of share a little flip through with you. And then I'm also starting on July, and for my first part of July I have a little staycation that we did. So I have a bunch of photos and a bunch of ephemera. So I thought I'd do kind of a little journal with me to share with you how I tackle a lot of photos and a lot of ephemera in my yearly journal. So as you can tell, this is a Barry Manilow record cover, Greatest Hits Volume 2. So backstory on this, I struggled trying to figure out what I was going to do for my yearly journal this year. I had bought a 3-ring 9x12 scrapbook, and I was going to use pocket pages. But I did that last year, and I didn't really want to do that again this year. I tried to mix things up and keep the project fresh every year, so I'm not doing repetitive things. I'm not doing the same things, but pocket pages are kind of my go-to when it comes to Project Life. And so I had them, I was all ready to go with them, and I thought, there's got to be something out there. So I really went back and forth between, do I use a book? Do I create my own? What am I going to do? I didn't settle on anything, and I think this is the reason why. So in July, I went to Salt Lake City. My best friend lives there, and we went to see Barry Manilow in his One Last Time concert. I've mentioned it a million times on this channel before. I am the biggest Barry Manilow fan. I absolutely love him. So I flew out to Salt Lake City. We did a girls' weekend. We had an amazing, amazing weekend. And then the concert was just the icing on the cake. It was a phenomenal concert. He is so amazing, and I love him so much. And it was so, so good. And so I came back home, and with the intention of this weekend, I am going to figure out exactly what I am going to do for my journal. I went to the thrift store, and I found a few books, had kind of in my head said, okay, I'm going to turn a book into a journal. Came up with a few ideas, didn't really love them, but I could make it work. So I'm walking around the thrift store, and I round this corner, and right there in front of the records is this Barry Manilow vinyl. So it's the Barry Manilow Greatest Hits Volume 2 record. Normally I would get them and keep them in my collection of vinyl, but I already have this one. So I thought, wouldn't that be fun to take this cover and turn it into a journal cover, like make a handmade journal using this album. So that is what I decided to do. So I came home, and writing the Manilow High, I was like, this is perfect. This kind of sums up my year this year with this big Barry Manilow concert. Just feeling very sentimental and very emotional about this concert. If you don't know, he's 82 years old. I don't know how many more opportunities I will have to see him in concert. He just shared a lung cancer diagnosis with us this last week. So it just seems like this is the perfect year to use this kind of thing for a journal cover. So that's what I landed on. That's what I decided to do. So I came home and just kind of decided how big I wanted to make this journal. I do think it's about an 8.5 by 11, if I remember right. And then I did a 4-inch spine. So I knew I wanted 4 signatures in here. When I make a handmade yearly journal, I like to have 4 signatures, and that way I can average about 3 months per signature. So I know if I'm going to run out of room, if I've got enough room that I can take up space, that kind of thing. That's just kind of how I gauge my pages to make sure I make it through a year. So I went ahead and I created this. I cut down the front cover and the back cover. So the back cover is right there. And then when I created the pages, I'm using primarily 49 and Market collections, and I decided to go with greens and yellows and pinks. So in my 49 and Market stash, I have a lot of greens and yellows and pinks between papers and ephemera and embellishments and all that kind of stuff. I figured I would be okay. I didn't need to order anything. I just was able to pull things from my stash. So when I created the pages, I've got a lot of, like I said, greens and yellows. But I also have these Barry Manilow songbooks. So they're like the piano books, the music books. And I decided to include pages from that. So again, it just ties in the theme of the album cover going along with some of the pages that are in here. So built into my signatures, I've got a lot of the Barry Manilow sheet music as well. So I love that extra touch. You may not be able to see it all the time, but I know it's there. So yeah, I really, really, really love how this book turned out. So I have worked in it a couple times. I've got a few months done in here. I think I've got April through June done. And I need to start July. And so I think that's what I'll do with you guys. But going back to the front cover, so I cut it down to my size that I wanted. I distressed it a little bit with some sandpaper. I wanted it to look a little bit worn, a little bit more vintage than it did. And then I added some stain to it. Now, I was really disappointed when I put the stain on because I thought it was going to be a darker brown. This is definitely more red. I don't love that. And honestly, after I put it on, I debated whether I even wanted to continue with this project. And I thought, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be exactly the image that I had in my head. If the stain is a little bit more red than brown, it's okay. It's gonna be just fine. So I added some lace trim on here, called it done. Oh, sorry, I've got some metal book corners here on each of the edges as well. All right, so that's my cover. And then when I started on the inside, I always start with a selfie. This is the year that I turned 57. So this entire journal will be my 57th year. So we started with April. Oops, I've got some back. Needs to be thrown away. I started with April and I didn't really know how to just like jump right into it. So I just created this pocket. I've got a birthday card in here from my parents. I've got a couple more that I need to add in there, but that's kind of how I started this. And then I've just got some photos through here. This is from my birthday. This is April, springtime around here. I love spring. It's my favorite time of the year. So I just took some photos of the spring things that were happening. My friends and I went to a Colorado Rockies game, so there's some photos from that. I also like to include current events. So this is when Pope Francis died. I've got screenshots of when I ordered our Manilow tickets. I did splurge and we did front row, which was just phenomenal. So then we move on to May. This is when I received our concert tickets. My friend and I went to another one of our favorite bands concerts, local bands concerts. So that's pictures from that. This was funny. I got up one morning and I looked out in the backyard and we had 8 rabbits in the backyard. So I took some photos of all the 8 rabbits back there and did some documenting about that. And then my friend and I went to see Little Shop of Horrors. So I've got photos from that, some journaling from that. And then this is a copy of the book that they give you when you go to a play. So it's the Applause magazine. And then again, current events. This is when Pope Leo was elected. So we've got some talking a little bit about that. And I was just obsessed with watching the conclave. I don't know why. I am Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic, but I just am always intrigued by the ceremony and all the kind of stuff that goes along with electing a pope. So I just had to do some journaling about how invested I felt in this whole process. June, my husband's uncle passed away, so I just did some documenting about that. And then that was all I had for June. So I was like, well, what else can I do? And looking back on my phone, I have a ton of pictures of my cats. Like, I just adore my cats. They're so funny. I have so many pictures, and rather than spread them all throughout, I just decided to do like little tribute pages to them. So the other thing about my cats is they have a ton of nicknames. So this is Mickey. I don't think I've ever called him Mickey a day that we have had him. He's Bubs. He started out as the Bubba, and he has become Bubs and all of these other nicknames. So I've got all of his nicknames there, and just some photos of Bubs. And then we've got Duchess, and she started out as Duchess. She became Dutchy Roo, and now she's Ruru. Has all kinds of different names for her. So I listed all of her little nicknames along with lots of photos. And then I've got some photos of the two of them together, and I do call them my kitten babes. So my kitten babies. So we've got that there. And he is clawing at the door right now. I can hear him not happy. He cannot come in here. So But so that's how I decided to go ahead and end June, just kind of take up some more real estate. Now, if you look at this, so April, May, and June should have taken up one signature and they didn't. This is what I have left in this first signature, which is great because my July and my August have a ton of photos. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of put you guys on fast forward. I'm going to throw on a movie because this is going to take me a while to work my way through this. But I'm going to start with a staycation that we did up to Estes Park in Rocky Mountain National Park. So my husband and I went up there for a few days for a few different reasons. One, our big Alaska trip was in August and we needed to get the cats used to having a cat sitter coming and taking care of them again. So we had our cat sitter come for a few days. I was ready for a little bit of a break. So it was just kind of nice just to go up to the mountains for 3 or 4 days. We hadn't done that in a very long time. And I wanted to take my big camera out. So normally the photos I take are with my phone, but I do have a large DSLR Canon R8, which I love this camera so much. But I decided that I needed to take this out. I don't do it all the time, but it was going to Alaska with us. So I wanted to get out and get some practice with the camera. Can you guys hear him? He is like clawing feverishly at the door. I don't know what it is, but he has to be in here with me all the time. So he does not like it when I shut the door. So sorry if you can hear him. But yeah, I took my camera out for a spin. We spent a few days in Rocky Mountain National Park, which was great because even though we live very close to Rocky Mountain National Park, like we can be up there in less than an hour. We don't go up there very often. We certainly don't spend 3 or 4 days up there. So we really spent a lot of time in Rocky Mountain National Park, seeing areas of the park that we hadn't seen before, doing things that we hadn't done. I got to do a little bit of hiking, which was great. So it was a great, great trip. But I have a lot of ephemera from that. So I need to figure out how to incorporate all of this. So I've got, all kinds of literature. I've got pin backs. I've got t-shirt tags. I've got receipts. I always collect travel stamps. If you guys have watched my videos before, you know I always collect these. I've got park maps. I've got the box top from our Estes Park saltwater taffy. Postcards, stickers, visitor guides. So I need to figure out how to incorporate all of this into a few pages, as well as a lot of photos. So I've got my photos printed. They are here. I've got some 3x4s. I just need to cut those down. Just photos that I took from the whole time that we were there. So I need to document that. So that is what I'm going to work on. So I think I'm going to put you guys on fast forward. I'll do some voiceover. I'll do some music, whatever, and just kind of take you guys along for the process. So I hope you enjoy this. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them for me below. And otherwise, let's get into it. So for those of you that have decided to stay here and watch this little impromptu process video, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you being here. This didn't intend to be this kind of video. I was just going to do an introduction to my project life, and then I was going to do a process video on its own, but I just decided to keep rolling with it. So I hope that's okay. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions or comments about anything you see in here, please leave me a comment below. I've first of all got to say thank you to all of my new subscribers lately. There are so many of you that have decided to join us here on this channel lately, and I appreciate you guys so much. I'm so thankful that you guys are all here. So leave me questions, leave me comments. I love reading your comments. You guys are all so sweet. So thank you all for being here. This little layout that I'm working on here actually ends up being 10 pages. So don't worry, you don't have to watch me do 10 pages. I just decided to film a couple pages here. At the end, I do go through and show you everything that I worked on off camera as well. So stick around for that and you could see how this ended up. It really was a lot of fun to do. I had a lot of fun photos. I love getting behind my camera. I love spending time outside, especially in the mountains, taking photographs. I love that so much. And so I love to scrapbook them. And I ended up having a lot of photos and wanted to, as always, make sure that they all ended up in my journal. So that's what you're going to see me working on right now. So as I mentioned, this was a trip that we took to Estes Park. It is in Colorado. I live in Colorado. It's about 45 minutes from our house, and we come up here quite often. Now, normally when we come up here, we just come up to Estes Park. Estes Park is the gateway to Rocky Mountain National Park on the east side. And for whatever reason, we don't come up here and make Rocky Mountain National Park like the center of our vacation. So let me stop. There's my Bubs. He's making his YouTube debut. He's going to hang out here with us for a little bit. He is my Velcro baby when I am home on the weekends. He loves to hang out with me. They don't usually hang out in my scrapbooking room if I'm not home, but if I am home, they are in here with me. Especially Bubs. He loves to hang out and play in my ribbon, play in my trash, get into anything that he can get into. Dutch, on the other hand, she's here for a little bit off and on, and then she goes and naps. She loves her naps. She cannot be parted from her naps, so where he will hang out with me all day and not nap. So here he is hanging out with us, the goofy boy, but he's here for a little bit and then he goes and does his own thing. So there he is, my big boy. So getting back to this trip. So we don't typically make Rocky Mountain National Park like a destination. And this trip, we really decided to do that. And this was the first time, I think, in my life that I can remember having made Rocky Mountain National Park like the center of our vacation. Estes Park is great. It's a great little tourist town. It has lots of gift shops and restaurants and hotels and all kinds of stuff up there to do. The Stanley Hotel is in Estes Park. If you're familiar with The Shining, Stephen King based The Shining on the Stanley Hotel. So that is up there. We've been to the Stanley many, many times. I've been into Rocky Mountain National Park many times, but never to the extent that we did on this little staycation. So Estes Park is a great place to stay. It's a great jumping off point. Like I said, it's the east part of, or the east entry to Rocky Mountain National Park. The west entry is Grand Lake. And in order to go from Grand Lake to Estes Park, you have to access Trail Ridge Road. Now, Trail Ridge Road, if you're not familiar, is the highest continuous paved road in the United States. And at its highest point, I think at the visitor center up there, it's like a little over 12,000 feet above sea level. So it's very, very high. Note to anybody who's never been there before, if you are not used to elevation, being above sea level, it can be very, very hard for people to breathe up there. Altitude sickness is a real thing up at Trail Ridge Road, again, over 12,000 feet above. But the thing that I have noticed, the older I get, my fear of falling and my fear of heights is the worst it's ever been. So we decided one day that we were going to go up to Trail Ridge Road, which we have done numerous times. And for whatever reason, we got about at least 3/4 of the way up there, and I couldn't do it. I said, I can't. The drive up there scared me so much. I had like a little anxiety attack, little panic attack. I was like, I can't do it. I can't drive. We can't go up here anymore. There are guardrails, but they're not like guardrails. You know what I mean? They're not tall, and I can't handle that anymore. It's so weird. Does anybody else have that? Like the older you get, the more like the anxiety is just, I just couldn't do it. But we drove about 3/4 of the way up there. We did stop along the road quite a few times to take some photos. So I have many, many beautiful photos from the drive up there. It is well above timberline. We did make it above timberline. We just did not make it all the way to the visitor center. But yeah, I don't get it. I couldn't do it. So we turned around and went back, which was fine. I am fine never going to Trail Ridge Road again. Like I said, I've been there numerous times. We've been so many times up there. We've taken our kids up there. So it's a great time. It's a great time. It's a beautiful, beautiful drive. As I said, you're above timberline. Usually for most of the year there is snow up there. There will always be some snow up there, but usually there's like piles of snow on the side of the road. So very high up there. But yeah, that was part of our trip that we just didn't get to do. So we just decided to spend time in other areas of the park that we have never been to. So that was fun being able to do that, even though we didn't make it to the top of Trail Ridge, but whatever. So this page, let's talk a little bit about what I'm working on here. So this is my title page for this section of photos from our little staycation. And what I originally had decided to do was take that map, so that folded piece of paper right there is a map from the hotel that we stayed in. It was called the Appenzell Inn, and I highly recommend. It was really a nice place to stay. We've never stayed there before, but it's kind of got like a German theme to it. It was really nice. So I decided to do just a little title page and make the hotel that we stayed at kind of the focal point of this, kind of the title, if you will, to this little section. So right there I used my Dymo label maker. I love my Dymo label maker. This is one thing that if I did a video about all of my must-haves, my Dymo label maker would probably be right up there in the top 5. I love that I can make that label say anything I want it to. I don't have to worry that I don't have enough alphabet stickers or I don't have enough whatever to make a title. I can always make my Dymo label maker work, and I love the vintage look that it gives. I love everything about it. So I just used it to say Estes Park Staycation. I used my rolling date stamp to add the date to it. I added the 49 and Market rub-ons, which you saw. That Enjoy Life is a rub-on, as well as the flower background. Those are rub-ons as well. I was going to leave that map whole and just use that as my background, and I decided to leave it folded and leave it as a little flip right there so that you could open it up and see pictures from the hotel that we stayed at. So that was that first page. Now this page I am working on is just a little bit of time that we actually spent in downtown Estes Park. As I mentioned, and anytime we usually come up here, all we ever do is go to Estes Park and tour the downtown, stop at the gift shops. It's a very touristy town, as you can imagine, being the gateway to Rocky Mountain National Park. So there's lots of restaurants and lots of candy shops and lots of gift shops and all kinds of stuff downtown. So we did spend a little bit of time there. One of the things that is a must-do for us is the Estes Park Saltwater Taffy place. I remember even as a kid, this was our go-to place. We always stopped here and got some taffy for the ride home, and so we just continue to do that now. So I decided to take the top of the box off and use that as a flip, and then I tucked that little round thing as a magnet. And then next to it is kind of the flavor guide that they stick in with your taffy so that you know which color is which flavor. So I added those on there, and again, that box top will just flip up. Now what I'm adding right now is a photo of an elk. So one of the things that you need to know about Estes Park as well is that there are many, many, many herds of elk in Estes Park. You will find them walking down Main Street. You will find them in people's yards. You will find them hanging out on the side of the road. You will find them walking along the highway. You will find them on the golf course. Anywhere you look in Estes Park, there are elk everywhere, and they're to the point where they don't care about people anymore. So we were walking by this little coffee shop, and there was this little elk in there eating her way through the flowers. This poor little shopkeeper had planted all these flowers for the summer, and this elk made them a tasty little snack. So she just stood there and again couldn't care that there were many people just watching her, but had to take a picture of her and put that in here because that was very funny, very funny. Like I said, she could have cared less. She didn't move. The people didn't bother her at all. So then I'm just taking this vintage paper clip and pinning down that box top. Up at the top, I've got a couple 3x4 photos. This was from a coffee shop that we stopped at. This was, I believe it's called Coffee on the Rocks. And it's really cute because they have like a little pond, a little like like a little stream-fed pond on their property, and there are a lot of ducks that hang out on that little pond. So I got a coffee. We were walking around the pond, and I stopped and took a picture of my coffee with that little duck in the background. So I think it might be hard to see, but that picture of the coffee cup that I have, there is a duck in the background. So I just added that on there. And then that little stream picture is from that property as well. So it was just a nice little way to unwind. Such a cute little coffee shop. We had never been there before. It's so funny, for all the times that we have been up there, we did a lot of things this time that we'd never done before. So it was kind of crazy. What I'm adding right now is 49 and Market. This is from their die cut bits, I think is what it's called. I have the yellow pack and the green pack that I'm working on, that I'm using on these particular layouts. One of the things that I decided to do this time, which I don't typically do, was I pulled pieces out of my stash that I was going to use up on this layout. Now, normally what I would do is just dig through my entire stash to find what I wanted to use. And this time I limited myself to just a handful of items. So when I looked at the papers that I was using, a lot of them were greens and yellows. And so I went to my stash and I pulled out green and yellow ephemera bits, embellishment bits, the rub-ons, the papers, all that kind of stuff. And that's what I used to work with. And that made such a big difference. That made this layout coming together so much easier when I only used the products that I had pulled from. Like, why have I never done this before? Kind of like genius, but yeah, it made doing this layout so much easier because I didn't have to dig through piles and piles of stuff. I used only what I had pulled out. So the rub-ons, the die cut bits, and the laser cut die cuts were what I used specifically on these layouts. And they just worked so beautifully with this layout. So this particular page I'm working on now, as you saw, I pulled out that big map, and it's a map of Rocky Mountain National Park, but it's very large. And I wanted to use it as a background, but I couldn't quite figure out how to do it. And so then what I decided to do was just focus on the area of the park that we stayed in, that we visited the most. So Rocky Mountain National Park is very huge. And as I mentioned, to get to the west side, you have to go across Trail Ridge Road, and then there's a whole other side of the park over there. We did not do that this trip, so I decided to just focus this map on the areas that we were at. And so that's what you can see there. That's the east side of the park. That's the big go-to places on the east side. So that's what we did. And then I just decided to add one photo to that so that you could still see the map without covering it up with a bunch of the photos. So I just added one photo, mounted it on some black paper, and then that Rocky Mountain National Park strip I cut off of the top of the map and just used that as well. On the next page, this is not a full-size sheet of paper, that pink page that is over there that you may have seen. It's not a full-size sheet of paper, and when I looked to see if I could fit a 4x6 photo on there, I couldn't. The 4x6 photo was bigger than the piece of paper. So what I decided to do was take a piece of this green paper and add it to, I guess it looks pink. It's pink on the other side, so you wouldn't have known that. But so this piece of paper is what is the smaller piece of paper. So I'm adding a strip to it to make it a larger piece of paper so that it will hold a 4x6 photo. A lot of the photos that I printed were 4x6 size, and I wanted to use up some of them, and I couldn't on this particular page on either side because the paper was too small. So by adding this strip, it gave me a little bit more room there to add a 4x6 photo. I did pull out my Fisker's scallop punch so that I could add just a pretty little scalloped edge to that page. So now I'm going to add a couple more photos here. I've used that large Rocky Mountain National Park sign photo, and then I've got just 2 3x4 photos that one is of a stream on a hike that I took, and the other one is just a mountain view. Like, it was so pretty. It was so green. For being July, it was really, really green up there. It was so pretty. So that is the 49 and Market die cut pack that I'm working with right now, and I'm just pulling out pieces that I can use to layer for an embellishment cluster at the top of that page. And I decided that that little botanical print works much better with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and layer that on the back, and then add some tags and that kind of thing. That's one of the things I do when I layer my embellishments, is I'm always working from my biggest piece to my smallest piece. The nice thing about those die cut packs that you see right there, there's all different sizes of stuff, and so it makes it very, very easy to pull bits and pieces and add them to your layouts. You may notice that one of the things I do a lot is ink my edges. I've talked about this in a couple of other videos, but I am very, very big on inking edges of all of my die cut pieces, all of my pages, all that kind of stuff. I am very, very big on inking my edges. I like the dimension that it adds, and I also like the vintage distressed look that it kind of gives. So you will see me do that quite often. I typically only do it with 2 ink pads. Now, whether I have whether I'm using black or whether I'm using brown, I always use walnut stain for the brown and black soot for the black. Those are my 2 go-tos. They're on my desk all the time, and you will see me ink edges quite often with those. Now, this page I decided to go a little bit more creative than I had on the other pages. So to me, where those 2 pieces of paper came together looked like the perfect place to add another flip. So I added a piece of paper. You saw me score it so that I could fold it easily. I've glued it down. I'm just adding those large paper clips there to help that dry. And then while that's holding that, I'm going to go ahead and add some embellishments onto the left-hand side of that. Now, I apologize if that's off camera and you can't really see it, but what I added there was a Rocky Mountain National Park Junior Ranger sticker. There you go. So I just added that down at the bottom, and then I'm going to try and put my travel stamp on here. Now, I've been trying to figure out where to incorporate this, and this actually ends up being perfect because I love that I just tied that on there, and now that kind of just is loosely hanging there. I will go in and add some photos to the back of it and embellish that up, but I really like the way that that's turned out. So I'm going to figure out which photos I want to add, and then I've still got more of those 2x3s, I think they are, and so I'm going to add those eventually on the other side of that. But I've got this large 4x6, it's a vertical 4x6, and that's the perfect place for that. I've got lots of room there to add that there. I'm going to add a receipt that I got at the gift shop in Rocky Mountain National Park. And then I've added that little travel stamp there, or that little, I guess it's a passport stamp. So if you didn't know, all of the national parks have these passport stamps. Now, they do sell a passport book, which I wish I would have gotten years ago, because we've been to many national parks that I probably will not get back to again. And I would love to have the stamps all in a passport book, but I didn't. I missed that boat. So what I do though is make sure that when I visit a national park, I stop in the visitor center and I get the stamp. Now, usually they have like loose pieces of paper laying there that you can stamp on and take it with you. It doesn't have to be in a passport book, but I really do wish I had the passport book, because it would be nice to be able to look back at all of that. Now, when I stamp, I usually do stamp probably 4 or 5 different stamps, just so that I get, a good one that I can put into my scrapbook. I end up using them in a lot of different ways. The nice thing is that they not only say what national park you were at, but it also does have the date on there. So I love that. I love using the national park stamps, so the passport stamps. So you can use them in many, many different ways. Sometimes they'll have more than one kind. I've had some that have had smaller stamps as well as larger stamps. So I've used both of those stamps in my books before. So those are kind of nice. Make sure you keep an eye out for those. The travel stamps I also get in the national park gift shops. I also get stickers, all kinds of stuff. A lot of my junk journaling things from the national parks come from the visitor center. So what I'm working on right now is this photo. I took that bag that you saw. That was actually the bag that my stickers and my travel stamps and all that kind of stuff came in. So I just decided to tear it down and use it as a background for this photo. And then I'm just adding some more embellishments, layering some more pieces there. And that little, what does that say? Making forever memories, I think. Yeah, making forever memories. So I thought that was sweet. And just using up all of these little bits and pieces. There's all kinds of little pieces, there's big pieces. You'll see me use in just a little bit. There are little doily pieces. You'll see me add those little lace pieces. They're so fun. I loved them, and I do actually get to put them on this page. So you'll see that in just a little bit. There's one right there. Oh, okay. I thought I had glued that down. I was like, how did I jump to that? But I was just playing with it to see if I liked it there. But you'll see I'll come back and add that in just a minute. But now I've just created a base layer for these 2x3 photos, and we're just going to go ahead and add those on there. And then I'm going to, again, go back to that left-hand side. And there's my little lace piece. And I was so happy that I had two, because I thought, oh, it's perfect for this page, but I only have one. But then when I went through it, I had another one. So it actually ended up working out perfectly. So just using some wet glue on the back of those. I don't use my rolling adhesive for this. I use wet glue for these little pieces. Makes it so much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and stick those down. And then I'm also going to figure out another way to take up some of that blank spot. Oh, there's Dutch. That's Ruru. See, she just kind of goes and does her own thing. She doesn't hang out nearly as long as Bubs does, but yeah. So I'm going to figure out something else to do to take up some of that green space there. I've got empty space above that sticker that I'm going to try and fill up as well. But then I found this little juniper evergreen bough thing, and of course it's perfect for this. So I just go ahead and layer that on as well. And then I'm going to grab a rub-on, and we're going to, oh, nope, I'm sorry. I'm going to do the back side of this first. Actually, I don't think I do. Nope, we're going to do the rub-on. Okay, I knew it. So I'm using these rub-ons. I love their rub-ons. I just love them. And I'm going to use that to take up some of that space. That one just says right now. And I'm just going to add that there and rub that on. They come off so easily and so nicely. I've had some that I've had in my stash for a couple of years now, and I don't have to worry about them not coming off easily or, having little gaps or whatever. They come off really super easy. Piece of cake. And just look at that. Like it's perfect. Add that little butterfly, we're done. And then on the back side, it's a perfect spot for a 3x4 photo. So I'm just trying to decide which 3x4 photo. Now that photo was taken from Trail Ridge Road. So look at that, so beautiful. So pretty. And then all I need to do is add some embellishment up at the top, cover up that white spot there. And that is gonna call it good for those couple of layouts. So we'll jump right into showing you the rest of the layouts that I've done. Okay, well, it's a few days later. I've worked on this whole section for quite a few days, on and off here and there. I didn't film the rest of it just because it would have been crazy long. It was already long enough, and I only did a few pages, but I'll go back and I'll share with you guys what I got done. So this was just the section where we did our little staycation in the mountains. So you guys saw this. I just went ahead and added this tab here for that. This talks about, or this is the map that we got when we checked into our hotel, with a few pictures from that. This is the saltwater taffy lid. Just that. The map And this, I think you guys saw all of this. There's my my travel stamp little tag. This flips open. And I think this is as far as I got with you guys, so I'll share with you what I ended up doing. The great thing about this is I was able to use all of my photos and all of my ephemera. So I've got this Rocky Mountain National Park sticker, just added that, embellished the page. Just some wildflower photos, and I was able to use that sticker over here, as well as my park. These are the passport stamps. I don't have a passport, but I always do the stamps and cut them out and use them in my layouts. More. This was a piece that I cut off of the back of, I think it was on the back of this sticker. So I just saved it and added that on here. Just talks a little bit about Rocky Mountain National Park. Then over here I was able to use the postcard. Just added a picture on the back of that with some more photos here. More pictures here. And then I created a pocket over here that holds just some film strip photos. And then they're just tucked into this pocket here. I love all of the greens. I think it's so pretty. It pulls in the greens from my pictures. I love it. And then this one just flips up. This is where I used that sticker that says "Don't trample the tundra." I also had a sticker that was like a junior ranger kind of thing. I opted not to use the sticker, but I cut out the ranger hat from it and just added it on there. Sorry about the glare, but there you go. There's that there. And then I've got one more page over here. I just added like a belly band here. I think you can see that. And then added in that Junior Ranger booklet and the park map. And then added these two on here. Again, these were pieces of ephemera that I had to incorporate. So this was the one that was from, this was the pin back. And this was from a t-shirt. And there's just a picture on the back of that. And then I just attached those there with a little bit of twine. So there you go. That is my layout completed. I did use up quite a bit of room in here, which was okay. This particular trip does not have its own dedicated journal, scrapbook, whatever. So I felt like it was okay to take up the room in my yearly scrapbook. So that's what I did. And then I only used, actually I didn't even use all of the pages. I've still got this little like third, I think it's like a third of a sheet here that I can use for the rest of my July. So as I mentioned earlier, this first signature should have covered April, May, and June. So it's got April, May, June, and part of July before I even move on to the next signature. So I did well. So that's why I felt like I could take up the room and, you know, make it a little bit more spread out than I normally would have. So there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me any comments, any questions down below, and I will be sure to get back to you. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time for another video. Take care and have a great day. Bye.